What are the 5 biggest mistakes that people do if they prepare for consulting interviews? Hi everyone, my name is Johannes. I'm an expert and career coach for careers in consulting, in finance and in management. And with our programs, we have helped more than 100 clients already to take the next step in their careers. And we are talking to people and working with people who apply for consulting roles on a daily basis. And we see people doing the same mistakes over and over and over and over again. And that's why I want to make this video and really talk about what the 5 biggest mistakes are that we see that people are doing on a regular basis, right? And I want to talk about them so that you can avoid making these mistakes. And mistake number 1 that I want to talk about is that people don't solve or don't work on enough cases. So what I hear all the time is, that when I ask people, hey, how did you try to prepare for consulting interviews? They say, yeah, I bought a book and then, I worked through a couple of cases and then I went to the interview. But believe me, the big problem is that there's so many different case types out there, and also that it's really difficult, to solve a case in a one-on-one situation because you have a lot of social pressure. And this means that you really need to practice how to do that to get experiences with different case formats, with different, situations, with different interviewers as well. So you need to collect some experience first, and our experience shows that you need to work on you need to solve at least 40 cases in order to be ready for the interview. That's so important. And if you haven't worked through 40 cases, then don't even bother, showing up to most of the interviews. Of course, at some firms, you just have very simple interviews, like just doing a market sizing or so. And in these cases, yes, maybe you need fewer interviews. But if you really want to apply for tier 3, tier 2 or MBB firms, then it's really, really important that you get the practice, that you see many different cases and that you really get the experience, so that you are not nervous in the interview itself and that you have enough experience to deal with different types of questions and situations. Mistake number 2 that we often see is that people don't have a structured approach if they learn how to solve cases. Very often, people maybe buy a book, then they check out some videos online, then they maybe take a look at an online platform that applies or that supplies free resources, and maybe even they take an online course. But the thing is, they don't have a structured step-by-step approach that really teaches them how to solve cases. And this is a huge problem. And the reason for that is that if you don't have a structured approach, that you waste a lot of time, okay? Some people make the mistake that they just randomly do some cases that they find online, but the problem is if they haven't learned the basics, if they haven't learned how to solve simple cases first, then of course they will fail, doing the difficult cases. So you really need to step by step to learn the tools, to learn the frameworks, to learn the concepts, that you need to solve these cases. So this is so important. And one important thing as well is that you need to learn it from one single source, because if you watch some videos, if you, buy a book, if you take some concepts from an online website, online platform, then, you will take maybe one concept from there, the other from here, and the other one from there. But the problem is that you need to have a closed system, all right? Otherwise, the danger is high that you will miss something and that you will have a flaw in your case structure. So that's why it's so important to learn how to solve cases in a structured way and from one single source. The third mistake that we often see is that people don't get structured feedback on their case abilities. So this means most people, if they solve cases, they either do it on their own or they do it with friends. And the problem is that they don't get a structured feedback. Okay, let's assume that they work with, or that they practice cases with some friends. Then the big problem is that they maybe get some qualitative feedback. Okay, maybe they say, hey, you know, the structuring part was not good, or the analysis was not good, or hey, you have to improve your communication. But if they work through 20 cases, they don't have a structured method to track their progress. That's really a big problem, because maybe the one friend, you know, feedbacks from this direction, maybe the other friend feedbacks from the other direction. So throughout the 20 cases that they do, they get a lot of feedback, but it's not structured, and they cannot track if they made progress or not. And this is a real problem. Mistake number 4 that we see all the time is that people don't work with experts. Very often, most people start with, you know, trying to practice cases or solving cases on their own by buying a book or doing online cases. And some of them, you know, even take the effort to practice with peers. But the big problem with that is the following. First of all, if you practice alone, then you maybe learn, or you get used to structure cases, but the real difficult thing about solving cases is how to solve cases in a social pressure situation, because it's something completely different if you can solve it on your own, on your desk, compared to, you know, solving it in an interview situation where you get direct feedback, where there's some pressure going on, and that's something completely different. On the other hand, if you practice with peers, with friends, you know, who interviewed as other, or who are currently also in the interview process, then the big problem is that none of you really have or had interviewer experience yourself. So maybe you can give some subjective feedback, you know, based on, you know, how your peer, and you can feedback very simple stuff, but you can only feedback to a certain level, because no one of you and your friends really have been on the interviewer side, all right? So you don't know what the interviewers really expect. And even if some of your friends received maybe an offer from the top firms, then maybe they are good, you know, good case solvers themselves, but often they cannot formalize the method that they use, or they cannot formalize the feedback for you. And that's a real problem, and that's why it's so important that you work with experts as well. And then mistake number 5 is that most people don't use available insights. See, it's really helpful, especially if you interview for some smaller firms or some more specialized firms, that you learn, or that you understand what type of questions are asked, you know, how you could expect the interview process to be, you know, what kind of technical questions are asked, etc. So, you know, try to get as much insights as you can upfront by, you know, asking people who have already worked there, by asking experts, you know, who have a lot of experience with certain interview processes. That is so important. If you don't get these insights, if you don't leverage these insights, then you miss out on a huge opportunity. Okay, and these are like the 5 biggest mistakes that we typically see. So just to repeat, first of all, people don't do enough cases. The second is that people don't learn with a structured process. Third is that they don't get a structured feedback. The fourth is, you know, that they don't work with experts. And the fifth is that they don't use available insights. And we in our program, in the Career Bootcamp, where we also have a dedicated track for interviews, for consulting interviews, we, you know, avoid all of these mistakes. So what we do is basically that we have a case system set up for you, where you work through a certain number of cases. We really get throughout the entire program, you know, really detailed feedback, you know, in a quantitative way, where we really track your progress over time. Also, you know, we teach you how to solve cases step by step. So we increase the level of difficulty, so that you first learn the basics, and then at the end learn all the advanced stuff. We also, you know, provide expert feedback on every single case that you do. And of course, we also have a lot of experiences, you know, with different interview processes that we are happy to share with you to prepare you in the best possible way. So if you want to avoid these mistakes, and if you really want to learn how to prepare yourself for consulting interviews in the best possible way, then check out our program. Go to careerbootcamp.org and apply for a free consultation, and apply for the Career Bootcamp. And there we can see if and how we can help you. So with that being said, hope you have a great day. See you in the next video. Until then, goodbye, Johannes.